Alright guys, today we're going to talk about multiplying integers and dividing integers. There are some rules to that we need to stick to in order to get our correct results. So they're very simple. If we're looking at our current screen right now, it says rules for multiplying integers. If you have a positive times a positive, it equals a positive. A negative times a negative equals a positive. A positive times a negative equals negative. And a negative times a positive equals a negative also. So we're going to use those rules and do some practice problems to see how that works in action. So if we look at some of the questions here, we're going to use those rules. And we're not going to do all of them, but we're going to pick some of these out that go with the rules from above. So obviously if we have 1 times 8, positive times a positive, you get a positive. Okay. If we have a negative 6 times 5, which is a positive, so a negative times a positive is going to come out to a negative 30. If I have anything times 0, doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative, anything times 0 is going to come out to 0. Going down the list, I look at a negative times a negative, negative 9 times negative 2. So a negative times a negative is going to be positive 18. So continuing down the list, again, if we have a negative times a positive, negative 1 times 5, negative times a positive is going to come out to a negative. Okay. Right below it, we have 1 times negative 1, so a positive times a negative is going to be also a negative. So if you see an odd amount of negative signs, your answer is going to come out to be negative. If there's an even amount of negative signs, your answer is going to come out to be a positive. Keep that in mind as well. But we go and use these rules to guide us to what our answer should be. Now, if we look at dividing integers, we have certain other rules for that. So for dividing integers, we have very similar to the multiplying. So we have positive divided by a positive is a positive. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. And then if we have two negatives, a negative divided by a negative, it equals a positive. So very similar rules to the multiplying. So if we take those rules and then apply them to some practice problems, then we can say, we'll look at the middle column right now, and it says negative 40 divided by negative 10. So we have a negative divided by a negative. So the rule says if we have two negatives that we're dividing by, it's going to come out to a positive answer. So negative 40 divided by negative 10 is going to give us a positive 4. The next one down says a negative 8 divided by 2. So we have a negative divided by a positive. That's going to come out to a negative answer, so it's going to come out to negative 4. Obviously, 2 positive 33 divided by 11 is just 3. Then we have negative 25 divided by 5. So a negative divided by a positive gives me a negative answer. So again, we have, if you're dividing by two negatives, our answer comes out to positive. If we're dividing by only one negative, your answer comes out to a negative answer. If we're dividing by two positives, your answer is going to come out to a positive answer. And again, if we go back and look at those rules, if we stick to the rules, we can get the correct answer as far as it being a positive or negative answer. Thank you for watching.